Gas suspected to be the cause in Trinity County is hydrogen sulfide. KLTV7's Emma Burns tells us more tonight about this chemical and why it can be so dangerous.
Hydrogen sulfide is a gas that naturally occurs in sewers, manholes, water wells, and oil and gas wells. Dr. Brian Tooten, a chemistry professor at UT Tyler, says hydrogen sulfide can be recognized by its rotten, egg-like odor.
Your nose is so sensitive to it that a single molecule of hydrogen sulfide hitting your nose is enough to tell your brain that you smell it.
When inhaled at different levels over time, hydrogen sulfide can have a wide range of health impacts.
If you're in an environment that has a lot of it, and you smell it too much, it'll actually destroy your ability to smell temporarily.
The dangers don't stop there. At certain levels, the gas will cause respiratory irritation. If you inhale the gas when it's higher than 500 ppm, you can collapse or die within minutes. Most crews that find themselves exposed to gases like H2S have special gear to ensure the safety of their team.
As far as the life safety component, that's always our first thing that we look at.
Assistant Chief Kelly Atkinson says the Tyler Fire Department is equipped with gas detection meters.
Whether it's our single company trucks or our hazard response team have sensors on there that can measure the hydrogen sulfide levels, and it'll alarm us if they get into more of a toxic environment.
Even if the hydrogen sulfide is not at a deadly level, if exposed over time, it can have lasting impacts on your health. Emma Burns, KLTV 7 News.
And the doctor tells us hydrogen sulfide is used commonly in the paper and oil and gas industry.